Aha! How do we feel about spiders? Oh, I know, we must respect and appreciate all of God's creatures, no matter the form they may take. Fare thee well, and adieu. Oh, it's my own fault. I should have inspected the cloth with more diligence. Oh, I haven't set up the camera since, it must be 2 years now. That's when I made Mrs. Downs sit for me, so that I may take her portrait in celebration of our 25th anniversary. And she hasn't sat for me since. I'm fascinated with photography and find it to be an exceptional tool in chronicling the physical manifestations attributed to mental disabilities. A medical visual aid, if you will. Mrs. Down, however, doesn't share my enthusiasm for the device. She has heard how some hobbyists enjoy taking self-portraits of themselves. My Mary is under the belief that having numerous images of oneself just lying about can lead to a detrimental level of vanity. Yes, vanity. One of the side effects, I'm afraid, of a successful career in the medical profession. There are 2 types of doctors in this world. Those who serve to do what is right, and those who serve so their rights might undo their wrongs. I'll let God decide into which category I belong. Oh, I know what Mrs. Down would say if she could see what I've done here. Oh, she'd puff herself up as much as her corset would allow, and in a somewhat exasperated tone, perhaps with a hint of tenderness only I could detect, she'd exclaim, "What is that contraption doing in your office?" Well, her confusion would be understandable, for I've not yet given her the good news. The Medical Society of London has agreed to publish my series of Letsomium lectures, of which the 3rd and final lecture I will present at the London Hospital on this very night. Soon, the complete series of lectures will be bound and released, and my hope is that the publication will be considered for the prestigious Fothergill Gold Medal Award, the pinnacle of honors bestowed by the Medical Society. It would be quite a feather in my cap, I'm sure. And I believe my chances of winning would be greatly improved with the inclusion of a few of my medical photographs. So, I've set up the camera and I've arranged for a few of our residents here at Normansfield to sit for me so that Oh, now who can that be? I'm not expecting anyone this early. Oh, I see you, Walter. It's the old knock and dash. Oh, Walter, may I see you for a moment? Always playing games, that one. A grown man, yet displays the behaviors and intellect of a young boy. Keeps the staff on their toes, that's for certain. Oh, I wonder if he has any new drawings for me to see. Oh, I quite admire the one he did of his own slippers. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, good morning, Walter. How are you? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I see you delivered another one of your letters. Oh, it's not from you, then why did you deliver it? You know Mrs. Down handles all the correspondence. Oh, and she says I should read it. Oh, very well, but it can wait. Walter, since you're here, I was wondering if I can take your photograph for an important medical document. Oh, splendid! No, reciting a poem won't actually work for the photograph. Well, we'll see how nicely you sit for me and whether it merits a new box of pencils. Now, I simply need you to sit on this stool perfectly straight and perfectly still. There you go. Now, no squirming. Please keep this pose as I remove the lens cap, count to 10 and replace it. Can you do that for me? Oh, no, I'll count to 10 and you keep the pose. Oh, I don't think we'll be needing any restraints. Yes, I realize this is a hospital for the feeble-minded, but we don't use those here, as you well know. Never have, never will. Not part of the moral treatment we practice on our residents. And you should be glad about that. I'm sure you would find it intolerable to be tied up or bound, as is normal in other asylums. I'm afraid a patient's progress deteriorates at an alarming rate. So I suggest you hold still voluntarily. Very good. You're doing splendidly, Walter. Very good. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done, Walter. Oh, you may unfreeze now and relax. But excuse me, timing is of the essence in the photographic process. I must remove the glass plate and get it over to the workshop where it will be developed in a pyrogallic and acidic acid solution, treated with potassium cyanide, and then washed and dried. Oh, what was that? Yes, I was speaking English, but I guess it was for my own amusement. Now, Walter, I have an important task for you. With the utmost care, please take this directly to George at the workshop and ask him to do his magic. Well, okay, not literally magic, but he will develop the exposure and create a photograph. A new box of pencils? Fine, but go quick. And don't tell Mrs. Down about the pencils. I'll need to procure those on the sly. I still remember the first photograph I ever took with this camera. In fact, it was the first photograph I'd ever taken, period. It was 1862, just a couple months after the birth of our eldest child, Everleigh. Mary held him in her lap for the pose. Careful not to let him fidget. It's because of the sweetness of that photograph that I first started calling Mary Little Mother, which, like it or not, has stuck as her nickname around here, used by one and all. That photo continues to be one of my favorites. Everleigh's expression is one of, I'd say, expectation, as if he can't wait to see what happens next in life, with no idea of the tragedy that would eventually befall him. Us. Me. What was I about to do? The letter. What have I done with the letter? From a Mrs. Radcliffe. Radcliffe. Oh, that name rings a bell. Oh, of course, Anne Radcliffe. And Mrs. Radcliffe is her stepmother, that's right. Oh, I should be better at remembering these things, but we do have about 140 patients here at Normansfield at the present time, and although I make every effort to know each and every resident, it's their family situations that I tend to forget. Anne was one of our newer residents, admitted about 6 months ago, I believe, healthy in most respects, and making significant progress. That is, until I approved her home leave several weeks ago, and upon her return, I'm afraid she had quite a setback, with more frequent epileptic episodes and more pronounced behaviors due to her being a congenital idiot. Oh, that term. How'd I despise thee? In my field of specialty, there are quite a few designations for the patient, yet the layperson seems to resort to crazy or mad. Oh, no doubt, due to the frequent use of those words by authors of today's popular novels, not to name names, Dickens. The types of patients we have here can be classified as suffering from either idiocy or lunacy. Although the terms are interchangeable, most agree that idiocy is a condition at birth, while lunacy is anything that happens to an individual after birth, say from an accident or disease. Interestingly, the word lunatic comes from the Latin word luna for moon and literally means to be sick from the moon. Oh, well, the stories I could tell about the goings-ons here around the night shifts of a full moon. Oh, we're expecting one actually tonight. Oh, stick around if you dare. Idiot, on the other hand, comes from the word idiotos, meaning lonely or solitary one. It only adds to my displeasure for the word itself. Some resort to the term imbeciles. I much prefer feeble-minded, the mildest form of idiocy, and the term I use for all of our family members here at Normansfield. So, although I am a doctor of idiocy, my hope is ever to avoid the day that someone addresses me as that idiot Dr. Down. Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling a bit parched. A cup of tea should sort me out. Oh dear. Mother? Mother, are you there? Oh, hello, dear. I was wondering if you would be so kind as to ask one of the staff members to fetch me a cup of tea. Oh, she's busy. Oh, that's all right. I'll make do. Oh, of course I remember our appointment this afternoon, but if you could just remind me. Right, the Winslows for a 2 o'clock tour of the facility. Oh, don't worry, I'm writing it down in my book. Oh, do you know anything about this letter I received from Mrs. Radcliffe? Oh, you received one as well. Whatever does she want? Well, no, I haven't opened it yet. Yes, I will read it, and then we may discuss its contents. Oh, don't fret, right away. Goodbye for now, Mrs. Down. Magnificent woman. Sees to everything and everyone. Not only does she handle all the correspondence, orders all the supplies, pays the bills, but even plans the entertainment in our beautiful on-site theatre. She is the one to ensure that our residents feel Normansfield is their home away from home. So it goes without saying that I would be useless without her. I often ponder on the future of Normansfield when the two of us have taken our final leave. Naturally, we look to our surviving sons, Reginald and Percival, when that time shall come. Reggie will be 21 this summer, and Percy is 19, both following in their father's footsteps, I'm pleased to say. Mrs. Down cautions me that the boys may have dreams of their own and would not fancy the idea of taking over the reins, so to speak. Oh, that may have been true about our Everleigh, who in his misguided way was more interested in a military career before his untimely passing. But Reggie and Percy, their favorite subjects in school are biology and chemistry. There's no hint of dissension. Still, the last time the topic arose, Mary was quick to point out, "You know, John, you had no interest in being in your family business." True as that may be, I had the good sense to realize at a young age that I had no head for retail, and thus no interest in my father's grocery shop. Still, I put in my hours behind the counter as a child. In fact, there I remained until something extraordinary happened as I approached my 18th birthday. It was my sister's idea that we go picnic at the coast. She thought there were so many days in the close quarters of our shop, we could all use a healthy dose of fresh sea air. Of course, plans have a tendency to go awry, and the weather turned most foul. So much so that we had to take refuge in an old country inn, where we decided to take our dinner. I'm the last of our party to enter the establishment. While the others take their seats around a large table, I remain by the front door, fumbling to take off my drenched overcoat, careful not to flick water on the other patrons. As I look around, I see a servant girl with the strangest smile, as if she's unaccustomed to wearing such an accessory on her sad face. She mumbles something. I understand she wants my coat. I hand it to her, and she curtsies with some difficulty, and then takes it to the closet in a jittery and quite unstable sort of walk. I realize she is the first feeble-minded person I have ever been in contact with. She continues to serve our table to the best of her ability, but more than one cup and saucer is overturned. Oh, my brother remarks, I don't see why they don't keep her in the back. To which my other brother quips, oh, I don't see why they didn't nip her in the bud as a babe. This upsets me to no end, and I feel my head turn hot, but I hold my tongue. In my mind, the question haunts me, can nothing for her be done? Ever and anon, the remembrance of that hapless girl presents itself to me, and I long to do something for her kind. I should include this anecdote in my speech tonight. I think there's space for it in my introductory remarks. Now, let's see, where did I put my notes? Of course, I had no idea at the time that I would spend my life caring for the mentally disabled. I simply wanted to pursue a medical profession. So it wasn't long after that experience at the country inn that I became a pharmacist's apprentice in London and took my first step toward a career in medicine. Oh, that letter. Oh, how many times will I forget? Oh, I don't mind, actually. In fact, I'm indebted to my occasional bouts of forgetfulness. It momentarily puts me on equal footing as our residents. When I can't perform the simple mental tasks of remembering such things as an acquaintance's name or the title of a book, it's not entirely different from when one of my patients is unable to pick up a pencil or speak in a full sentence. We share the feeling we ought to be able to do it without much effort, but it's simply out of reach. So yes, I'm glad to forget. It's a constant reminder of how much my patients are suffering and how much I desire to ease that suffering. Now, I was about... Oh, I almost forgot again. Oh, dear me. Let's see. My dear Dr. Dow, it is with deepest sorrow that I must inform you of the death of my husband, Anne's father. Oh, no. Oh, poor Anne. It has come as quite a shock to all of us, and my only comfort at this time is in the company of family. Regrettably, I must offer notice of termination of Anne's residency at Normansfield. Her presence is needed at home, and I will no longer be able to accommodate further payments for her fees. I will make the necessary arrangements directly with Mrs. Down. Thank you for your commitment to Anne's progress, which has been noticeable in the short time she has been in your dutiful care. With kind regards, Elizabeth Radcliffe. Oh, poor woman. Poor, misguided woman. This will not do. I will not allow it. Anne's last visit home was enough to set her condition back considerably, so to move home permanently? Oh, no. Anne's continued progress can only be achieved, just like all of our patients, by keeping them in the highest possible health. Will her room at that estate be well ventilated whilst keeping her warm? Will she be required to bathe daily? What about physical exercise? The muscles need to be trained so that the automatic and rhythmic movements common to the feeble-minded can be replaced by movements which are a product of the will. To facilitate the training of these muscles, I have designed an outdoor morning drill led by our teachers and performed daily by our residents. Oh, here, let me show you. We start with the heels together and the toes turned out. The knees are straight and the eyes look forward. Stand up straight with head erect, hands on hips, hands back down. Now your hands are in the air, wave to teacher. Put your hands back on your hips, head turn right, head turn left. Now your arms are straight out front, clap for teacher. Yes, I did that quite well. Of course, I realize the movements are quite simple, but as a patient, when your hand continuously wants to move in one direction, it can be quite challenging to direct the movement somewhere else on a voluntary basis. We use similar types of drills for the mouth and what I call tongue gymnastics as a way to address any defects in speech. Though, to be honest, it's not the lack of drills or exercises or even our skills workshops that I fear Anne will be missing if she is made to make the move home. I'm more concerned with what awaits her there. And I wonder if I made a dreadful mistake by allowing her to make that visit home several weeks ago. Oh, a respected businessman and his wife. The Radcliffes are reputable people, and I had no reason to be concerned about her care. Still, upon her return to Normansfield, there was a marked difference in her behavior and her mysterious complaint that her wrists were hurting. She only now is starting to make her prior level of progress. There's something not right at that estate, and I must discuss it with Mrs. Down. Mary! Mary, dear! Mary, are you there? Fine, thank you. Is this Mrs. Down? Mary or not, is that you laughing? Yes, I understand you share the same first name as my wife, but what are you doing at her station? Well, it's very kind of you to look after things in her absence, though it's very irregular for a resident to do, even one with your tenure. Do you know where Mrs. Down is? Please, ask her to see me as soon as possible. Oh, I didn't mean for you to yell for her. Oh, bother. Mary Arnott was one of our first residents here at Normansfield. And as you see, 20 years later, still quite precocious. We deal with misbehavior appropriately, not with physical punishment, I can assure you. We have other means of upholding our strong philosophy that every resident must learn obedience, that right doing is productive of pleasure, such as having a favorite book read out loud, or a prime seat next to a beloved staff member during mealtime. But wrongdoing is followed by the deprivation thereof. It works beautifully. Oh, I have seen a girl exhibiting violent obstinacy melted into contrition and obedience by her teacher warning her that she shall wipe away from her face the kiss this girl had given her the previous day. I first initiated this non-physical policy for patient behavior as medical superintendent at the Royal Earlswood Asylum, my former position, and my first full-time appointment directly after medical school. I nearly didn't take the job, but thanks to Mrs. Dow, who was not yet my wife when I was offered the post, it became my path to early success. Mary, listen to this. Dear Mr. John Langdon Down, it is with sincere congratulations that we offer you the post of medical superintendent. Oh, thank you, dear. There's only one problem. I dare not accept. Well, first of all, I still need to pass my exams in order to get my medical degree, and my specialty is in chemistry, not learning disabilities. I'll be like a babe in the woods with no foreknowledge of the field that I'm entering. Not to mention all the ancillary duties of the job, which, need I remind you, include managing the farmlands on which the hospital resides. I don't know anything about the timing of the harvest, or even how to milk a cow. No, Mary, I don't believe I'm overreacting. Expectations are extremely high for real changes at the hospital, due to the unfortunate circumstances that led to the abrupt dismissal of the former superintendent. Will I live up to those expectations? Well, it's very nice of you to think so, dear. And yes, I agree, the board must think I'm up to the task. But what about us? We plan to get married soon, yet I will be required to live at the hospital in rather austere and limited accommodations. How can I expect my new bride to come join me in an asylum? My dearest Mary wisely pointed out that life is short, and not to let opportunities to pass me by, especially ones that could establish my name in the medical field. So, with medical degree in hand, in the fall of 1858, I took up the post at the Royal Earlswood Asylum. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my first of what I hope will be a series of successful staff meetings. Now to the task at hand. No one likes changes per se, but changes we must endure for the betterment of Earlswood. First off, from now on, all patients will be referred to as the family. And as family, all staff and patients will take their meals together in the dining hall. Oh, I encourage everyone to foster this feeling of family whenever possible. Second, corporal punishment for an offense or the deprivation of food for an offense will not be tolerated. And last but not least, staff's ration of beer will be decreased to 1 pint a day. Thank you very much, and carry on. I was a bit apprehensive about that last initiative, especially among our male employees. But it turns out the staff was very supportive of the direction I was taking. After 2 years at my post, I was very pleased with the improved health of our patients and the progress that they were making. As word of these improvements spread, the number of patients increased significantly, and our methods were studied by medical professionals from near and far. Earlswood was as different as can be from the lunatic asylums and workhouses of the 1840s and 50s. We were part of the grand experiment in educating the feeble-minded so they may find their place in ordinary society. To help individuals realize their greatest potential in a caring and supportive environment, well, that's the ideal for all individuals, with disabilities or not. Luckily for me, Mary agreed wholeheartedly and was extremely supportive of my endeavors. Our marriage took place on October 10th, 1860, and she joined me in my cramped quarters at the hospital. With the arrival of Emily, our living space was expanded into the adjacent secretary's office. It wasn't long after that our second child took up residency as well. Our only daughter, Lillian. A happy soul, so bright-eyed and full of mirth. Tragically, her time with us was cut short. At 2 years of age, she was devastated by illness, a high fever and convulsive seizures that lasted for days. For 2 weeks she lingered, as I struggled to determine a diagnosis, let alone a cure. How is it that I, a well-educated and respected doctor, could not cure one sick child? Medice curate ipsum. Physician, heal thyself. The Bible credits Jesus as using the phrase, but if I may, I would alter it. Physician, heal thy own. Some take comfort in the thought that it's God's will, that there's a reason that our little angel was given to us, only to be taken away. Try as I might, I have yet to discover such a reason, unless it's what I fear the most. And God wanted to send a message to me, that my success at Earlswood had cost me my humility. What if in the eyes of the Lord I had grown too conceited, and only a failure in my abilities of such magnitude could alter my condition? I never shared this fear with Mary. I didn't have the heart. She was even more devastated than I from Lillian's death and became ill for a time. While bedridden, she expressed her grief in a beautiful poem, which I've ingrained in my mind. So fair, so pure, my little gem, that angels came to see, and seeing bore her home with them, their angel babe to be. And ever when, cast down apart, in agony I weep, there thrills within my stricken heart a thought that ne'er shall sleep, that cradled in an angel's arm, from every sorrow free, a little bright-winged seraph child waits lovingly for me. Oh. Now I've done it. And I'm done with this feeling of self-pity. With Anne's situation, I see my chance for redemption. Better make the most of it.